Hi, welcome to Kismet. I'm Bria Stout, and this podcast is my offering to the collective to give you ways to contemplate how to liberate and expand and heal and transform your life. So, I'm a mystic that really truly loves everything life has to offer, and I've walked through deep darkness, depression, anxiety, lots of difficult moments, and faced my greatest fears. And through all of this, I've learned to embody transformation and expansion. And now my life's offering is to open these doors for others. So if you have your heart set on creating a life that's fulfilling, stay with me, click subscribe, and hit the like button because that does support my efforts in creating. Okay, so just as I jumped on to record this, I saw the number 77 again. Feels very significant, very kismet. Seven is my life path number. And it's just been showing up all day today. So, as normal, normal for me, I wasn't sure if I was going to record this. And once again, I feel like, oh, yeah, it was the right thing to do. So, Happy New Year. I know it's not the astrological new year, and a lot of people have this like resistance to connecting to the new year. And I get it because it's so tired. Like, new year energy is just like so worn out. But two thoughts on that. Number one, the collective celebrates the new year. And so it's happening, whether we want it to be happening or not. And we are participating in it because we're participating in the greater whole. Secondly, this period of time is actually very connected with the winter solstice. So New Year's is 12 days after the solstice, and there's something very numinous about this period of time between the solstice and the new year. So I get it if you're jaded by New Year's resolutions. But hang in there, okay? There's something juicy about connecting to this energy. And if you stay in that jaded moment, you're going to miss engaging with the opportunity. Okay, so oh my gosh, 2026 is going to be an incredible year, and it will be filled with these unexpected changes. How we begin and start this year is going to be very different from how we finish it. Who we are in the beginning is going to be quite different from who we are at the end. And maybe you could say that every year. We always go through transformations, but I think this year's going to be pretty significant. So, first, I just want to chat about this word resolution because it's so tainted, and we feel very cliche, right? Like, the word resolution, New Year's resolutions is it just has such an ick to it. And this is because everyone says they're going to do something. And, every year January gets full at the gym. And then by like March, it's already a ghost town. So it doesn't feel good when people talk about New Year's resolutions. It feels like, oh yeah, you said that last year, you didn't commit, you didn't really fulfill with it. And then we end up feeling like a lot of regret at the end of our year or maybe halfway through. But I want to reclaim this idea of resolution because to resolve something is really a beautiful, soulful energy. Resolution, or to resolve, is to dedicate your heart. It's to know what your truth is. It's to be fully convinced of what is yours, of your path, of your intentions, and of your soul self. Now, here's the thing. Many of us are not connected to those things. And this is why New Year's resolutions feel tired and worn, because you've made them, you haven't stayed with them, you've told yourself you're going to do something, you've lost interest, and this is because your heart wasn't actually resolved. You weren't really committed. And that's completely okay. We don't need to look back and worry about what was. We can look back and understand why we weren't able to resolve whatever our intentions were. Most likely, we weren't ready to resolve those intentions. So they were good ideas, but they weren't resolved in the heart. And that's a huge difference. And many people are really trying to figure out what you really want. This is not an easy thing to do. Now, I happen to know a lot of secrets about this, and I am not going to share them here. And if there's one thing you're going to learn from me, it's that knowing how to keep certain things to yourself and to the right time and place is a strength that very few people in this world understand or know about. And I can't even fully explain that on this podcast. But there is something about knowing things only for yourself. And when you are ready to hold the secrets for yourself, to hold things in your field, that's when you're really going to connect with the energy of resolution. And the reality is, not everyone is ready for that. This is why I don't speak these things from a platform, from any kind of public platform, because that lacks wisdom. And it goes in one ear and it goes out the other. But there is value to public platforming. That's why I'm talking here, because I know that talking about things and listening to people is a helpful tool. So I'll tell you this. You are always going to get a part of what you want. You're going to get what a part of you wants. You're going to get what a part of you expects. And you're going to get what a part of you believes you're capable of having or being. Now, sometimes you have various different parts that are incongruent. And the incongruent parts make resolutions very difficult. If you have a division internally, you think you want this, but you also want that. Or if you don't know what you want, or if you don't know what you're expecting out of life, if you aren't really connected to that, then you're most likely going to be living or moving from some part of the unconscious. And you're going to be trying to find something you want, but because you have all of these unconscious wants, these are the parts of you that you're not clear about, then you're going to end up manifesting things that aren't really fulfilling or happy or creating happiness. And we know this. We can see people manifest every material thing that they want, but they still aren't happy or fulfilled. And like I said, this is connected to a deep secret. And this secret can be found on your own. You don't need me for it, but I will teach it to people. But the secret is not something you're going to hear people talk about, because it isn't something that can really be understood, again, from a platform. So Capricorn energy is an invitation to figure out this inner resolution. And as we start every single year in Capricorn energy, Capricorn invites us to allocate our time, our energy, and our resources. So the strength of Capricorn is to think about, how am I positioning myself in the world? How am I going to use my resources this year? How can I create sustainability in my daily life? How can I lengthen the usefulness of what I already have? So as I looked at the astrology of 2026, this Capricorn energy that we have in the beginning of the year is very important. Because this year offers strong new beginning energy. It's a 1 year, and it's also the year of the fire horse, and we have major changes in the astrological influences. So there is a big reckoning happening this year, And I think that this is going to connect with a opportunity for some of us to unite these two different parts of ourselves, our yin and our yang. If it doesn't unite these two areas, then it's likely going to bring division. So with every year, with every energy, there's always the potential and there's always its opposite. And some people are going to experience one version and other people are going to experience another. But personally, I'm very excited for what this year holds because I know that the extreme energy of this year offers really big opportunities. And this is why my mission is supporting and guiding humanity to deepen understanding, to look within, to revolutionize this spiritual path. Releasing grief, learning how to transmute energy, how to integrate. So in this 1 year, in this new start, we are offered this opportunity to do things very differently. Now, as I mentioned, the year's going to start different than it ends, and the year starts with more in yin. It's a little slower. It's a little bit more deep breaths, grounding, looking within. And as we move into February, we're going to have that Saturn-Neptune conjunction. And this is where they're going to conjoin at 0 degrees of Aries. Now, some people say they found dates they think that this has happened before, but it's been thousands of years and we can't really verify it. But this is happening at the 0 degrees of Aries, which is very significant. It's at the beginning point of the zodiac. So we're already in a 1 year, we're already in a new beginning, and then boom, we have these 2 planets in February. And right after that, it's the Chinese New Year, which is the year of the fire horse. So energy slowly begins to rise. We're going to feel something pick up in February. And then in April, when Uranus moves into Gemini, things are going to pick up even more. And then once we get into July, oh man, Jupiter's moving into Leo. It's going to be big energy. Things are going to be moving very fast. So one of the themes I've thought about for this year is that it is about restructuring and reformulating. So this could be a beautiful, potent opportunity for you to reform your identity. And that's because of Aries, and Aries is very connected with the identity. We also have that fire horse energy, and that, when we think of horses, we tend to think of them as being these very spirited, very passionate animals. But think about whenever you see a horse just in the wild, most of the time they are very slow, very steady. There's a lot of stillness. There's a lot of peace. So even the horse energy of this year has a lot of duality in it. Like horses can be raced and they can move very fast and they do have a lot of passionate drive and force. But in their most natural state, they're very emotionally aware. They're very sensitive. They're very attuned. And literally, this is why people go to them for healing, right? Horses are very intelligent. So they have this dualistic nature of being very sensitive, very intelligent, very emotional, and very powerful. Very fast, very quick. So this connects again with what I was saying of like, oh, there's a lot of yin and yang energy in 2026. This tells us too that there is a need, an invitation with Saturn and Neptune moving through Aries to really tune into your intuition. What is the soul saying? Now, when we get into mid-February and we have that conjunction, these two planets, really something remarkable could happen in your life. Now, it might not happen for everyone. It's more likely to happen if you have planets or points in Aries, especially around the 0 degrees or 28, 29 degrees of Pisces. But most likely something is going to happen collectively around this time. It feels like unexpected innovation. This could be a very hard energy or could be very supportive. So, Neptune is a dreamer, and we all love dreaming, right? All the possibilities, all the beauty, all the art, all the creativity. But when we have Neptune move into Aries, this is where those dreams from Neptunian energy being in Pisces is like, oh, now we have to do something with this dream energy. And this is where there's some enthusiasm, like, oh, I'm actually gonna have new growth and there's some potential here. So Neptune's going to be in that 0 degrees of Aries a couple weeks before Saturn. And once Saturn arrives and they conjoin, there's a magnification of these two, which is the self. Aries is me, myself, and I. Who am I? How am I? How am I showing up in the world? And Saturn is going to be moving through Aries for the next few years. And Saturn represents where the soul is being tested. So one of the things Saturn is likely to be representing is testing us to see if we are in honesty, if we're being honest with ourselves, if we have matured like we think we have, if we have created the boundaries we were supposed to be creating while Saturn was in Pisces. Saturn can be this, okay, it's time to confront the thing. Confront the dream, confront the possibility, confront the growth. And confrontation can be really expansive. It can be very, it can feel like, yeah, you're the person, you've become the person you want to be. You're showing up how you want to show up. You feel really aligned internally. Or it can be, it feels like people are attacking you. So Saturn represents this wake-up call, to see like, oh, have you put in the reps? Have you showed up? Have you become embodied? Have you matured? Are you doing all the things that you're saying? And this isn't like a punishment kind of energy. Sometimes people think Saturn is a punishment energy, but it's about maturing and to see, have we actually started to embody our truth? Are we in alignment? Because if we are in alignment, this aspect that's happening in February could be where doors open for us very quickly. And being in alignment isn't like good or bad or right or wrong. It's more about having clarity about who you are. And so sometimes we are not in clarity, and we're not supposed to be, because parts of life are about going into ambiguous energy. This is where we go through a death, and then we haven't been reborn, so we're in an ambiguous energy. We need to reform who we are. So it's not wrong to not be in alignment. It's an opportunity to reconfigure. And that really aligns, like I said, with this year. So whatever's happening around this time is going to be inviting us to either step into greater growth or draw back, dig deeper within. And again, neither is right or wrong. Just witness where you are. But as we have these two planets moving through Aries, Aries energy is very much about self-identification. Who am I? Who do I want to be? How do I want to be? And this doesn't mean, well, I want to be a good person. This is what like a lot of people say. Well, I want to be nice. I'm a good person. I want to be helpful. That's not an identity. Those are nice sounding words. But having an identity is being grounded in who you are, in knowing what you want, in knowing what you're here to do, in feeling like you have clarity, you have a sense of fulfillment from within. And it's about this sense of knowing you can be an individual and that you don't need other people to validate you. Now, this is a huge life lesson for all humans. We are all here to learn how to be an individual, and not all of us are going to really learn that in the same way. We're going to learn it in variations and to different degrees, and not one being better than the other. Because individuation, or to be an individual, requires us to separate from the group. It requires us to separate from the culture, the tribe, the collective. And we think we know what it means to be an individual, but I can almost guarantee that you and most people you know are looking to friends, community groups, and other people to validate you. And that would be being connected to the collective, or being connected to the tribe, looking to the tribe for validation. It isn't wrong, it isn't bad, but this is what the culture is built on, and this is what inhibits us from individuating. Because when we are saturated in what everyone else is doing, saying, thinking, how they're acting, what they're wearing, when we are inundated with everyone else's opinions and ideas, how can we be clear and determine who we are and what we really want to do? Again, it's not wrong. We can be expanded by other people, but to actually clearly know the self apart from others is to take a break from all of that. And so maybe you'll be doing that this year, because there's certainly a beautiful energy and opportunity to think about and look at, okay, well, who are you apart from being what everyone else is? And this is a little bit of my Aquarius energy speaking. I'm an Aquarius midheaven. Pluto is getting ready to transit over my midheaven, and I feel really passionate about this. This is one of the things that has been the most transformational in my life, is learning how to separate myself from the culture. This is how I've learned how to be who I really am. And you know what? Not everybody came here to be that in the same way, so I'm not saying you need to do that. But I am talking about how to individuate, and it does require a stepping away from the culture. Personally, I spent years off of social media, and during that time, I was able to formulate such a strong sense of individuality. And that has morphed and changed, but I took myself out of the position of being influenced by what others think. And in that time, I gave myself space to figure out, okay, who am I? And who do I want to be? And why? Because the why is really what gets us. We are so connected to well, it's what's popular. It's what all of the people are doing. It's what looks good. But so often what looks good, what is popular, what we're being influenced by is very much the illusion, and it's keeping us under a spell of sorts. And if you're connected to social media in any way, you're connected to that world. As much as you think you're not, you can't not be. That's what social media does. It connects us with collective influences. That's literally why we call people influencers. So to individuates, to say, okay, I don't want you to influence me. And your media is called programming for a reason. It programs us. Now, it's programming us with our own unconscious desires, beliefs, and feelings, but it's connecting us to that collective. So again, not wrong, but not really helpful in knowing who you came here to be apart from collective influences. Okay, so we start this year with a big old super moon in Cancer, and this full moon is right around the time that we have this Venus star point and Mars, Venus, and Sun conjunction. So we have this intense concentration of Capricorn and Mars as we move into 2026. And this gives us a lot of ambition, a lot of energy, a lot of space to ground for clarity. And of course, Saturn is ruling Capricorn, and Saturn is in this last phase of Pisces. And that means this beginning of the year, especially as I talked about on Winter Solstice podcast, that from now until March, we still are moving through a lot of very big, important karmic relationships and karmic energy that needs to be dealt with. So if you have something that's unresolved, that it may be coming up at this time, and it does feel supportive, like some answer, some resolution, some support is coming in, this could be a reset energy. This could be that you are able to set a boundary. Maybe you're able to communicate something. But this full moon has a lot of emotional intensity to it because we have Jupiter conjunct the moon, and Jupiter brings expansion, brings an amplification of all that Cancer emotional energy. So do expect to be moving through something, but there's also support around this. It feels like yes, and there feels like there's an answer coming, or it's going to be coming the week after the full moon. So one of the themes I would say in January is really connecting to ownership. What you do not own will own you. So what you're not going to take charge of in your life is going to fall into the hands of fate. And Carl Jung said, until we make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. So the unconscious is the shadow. This is a part of you you're not aware of. It hides from your awareness. So when you say, oh, this thing happened to me, that's a very fated thing. Destiny is when you interact with the unconscious. This is where you take a step forward. You own the pattern. You understand the soul self. You direct the conversation. You make the choice. You close the door. You open the door. You say yes. Now, Capricorn energy is not for the faint of heart. Okay, it is an archetype that invites us to step into sovereignty, to become active, to become direct, but from a place of peace and rest. This means that clarity. This means that you have resolved something from within and that you're not trying to resolve it from the outside world. And this kind of taps back into what I was saying in the beginning. Like, to have resolution is to know yourself. It's to be determined, to be clear, to be assured. And the thing with all of this is that it comes from embodiment, not from forcing, not from guilt, not from trying to become a better version of you, but about becoming you. And so often when we have that, I need to get better, I need to become better, why can't you just become who you are? And if you are becoming who you are, then you're enough. So that first full week of January is a wonderful time to be asking yourself, what is my truth? What's important for me? Where do I need boundaries? Where do I need to close something out? Where am I ready to open a door? What is my yes? What is my no? This is the time to know what you know in your soul and to really seed the intentions. Now, winter solstice to the equinox, this is that period of time where we're seeding intentions. Capricorn energy is about seeding. And both Cancer and Capricorn relate to these very deep belief systems. They relate to our family, our lineage, our home, our sense of security. They relate to finances and resources. But if I had to sum these two archetypes up, I would say that they are a lot about integrity. They're a lot about being in congruence. So this means thoughts, words, and actions are in alignment. This is when who we are at home is who we are in the world. This is when we say something, we speak about it, we're able to live it. This is when we're not in hypocrisy. Now, this is a really big struggle for us as humans. We have a hard time seeing when we're in hypocrisy, and it's very easy for us to show up with a mask. We are really good at dressing the part, putting on the image, talking, speaking, making ourselves look a certain way. But underneath all of that, we can be very frustrated. We can be very irritated. We can be tired. We can be sad. We can feel misunderstood. We can be disgruntled. We can be resentful. And this is because we're not congruent. We're not showing people who we truly, fully are. So this is a great time to be with your soul self. The part of you that you've tried to cover up by the outer image, this is the time to go inward. The full moon especially, because this is where the moon very much connects us with that inner realm, to our soul self, and to that deep desire that we have to know ourselves, to be congruent, to feel that we're safe in the world. And during this full moon, I'm going to be hosting a Sankalpa and Sound event. So if you're here and you want to cultivate a powerful word or phrase for the year, this is going to be an amazing time to do that. So you're welcome to register and join. And this full moon also connects us back with a new moon that was planted on July the 5th of 2024. So you might look back at that date, see what was happening in your life, what's come to fruition since that time, because this is likely related to what's coming up now. And you can also be thinking about how you've grown and how you've changed. You know, what in your family, what in your sense of tending to yourself, how have you grown? How have you changed? What needs to be released, right? Full moons are times for release. And we are given this opportunity to say, okay, this is the thing that's really not serving me anymore. Okay, one more thing to mention that you can look back on is that we have that Venus star point, which is when Venus is conjunct the sun. That's happening on January the 6th. But we have the last one that happened was on January 8th, 2022. And so you might look back and see what happened on that day. Like for me, that was an incredibly important day 4 years ago. You know, check your emails, your calendars, your texts. I always like just looking at the cycles to see like what was happening then and what's happening now, because it's likely related. Okay, well, as you begin 2026, I'm going to recommend that you take some time to be slow and steady, okay? The symbol of Capricorn is the sea goat, and it reminds us that getting to the top of any mountain takes little steps. So think of January as like a training ground where you're here to show up. You're going to show up to your daily life. You're going to be thinking about who you want to be, how you want to be, and maybe you decide to tune out of social for a little bit. Maybe you don't. No pressure. Do what feels authentic to you. But I'm really excited for this year. I looked ahead at my own solar return chart, which is a birthday reading. I don't even know what's going to happen. It looks wild. So I have a lot of ideas, new offerings that I'm working on. I just cannot wait to support you to have greater depth and clarity in your own life. So take whatever works, whatever's speaking to you today, and let go of the rest. You know, we only have right now. We only have today. So turn off the illusion of what everyone else is doing. Start living, start showing up, and I promise you, you're not going to regret it. And if you want support, coaching, guidance, one-to-one sessions, readings, I offer all of this. You can find that on my website and the link below. But otherwise, I'm sending you a lot of love for 2026 and beyond. Bye for now.